Chapter 136, Strange. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Whilst carrying a thermostat, Tang Xiu arrived outside the VIP ward's door. After leaving the job fair, he went to the market to buy fresh vegetables and meat and went back home. After which he asked Mu Qingping to make a pot of chicken soup and added medicinal herbs that brought warming effects. In the ward's waiting area, Banzhou and Dingzi were reading health articles as they tried to kill their boredom in every possible way. Although they were also injured, but such injuries compared to what they had before was just like a plain meal for them, and simply was not worth mentioning. On the sickbed. With a sad expression, Su Lingyun read the account book. The restaurant was smashed and it had been closed for 2 days. If she wanted to reopen it, it needed to be renovated. And with the medical expenses, the spending also amounted to tens of thousands of yuan. She was worried that the money would not be enough for a renovation. At the bedside, a delicate and pretty girl was sitting there, dressed in nursing clothes and cutting an apple gently. "Boss. You came." Seeing that Tang Xiu came, Banzhou and Dingzi's spirit suddenly sparked up. Tang Xiu nodded at them and looked at the nurse. Only then did he show a bit of a smiling expression. He sat nearby the bedside as he asked with a smile, "What's up, Mom? Why are you frowning?" "I asked someone to make chicken soup for you and add medicinal herbs that can warm your body. This will be a good supplement for your body to recuperate." Su Lingyun, with a surprised expression, said, "Who did you ask to make hot pot chicken soup for me? Our smashed restaurant is in a mess and I have given the chefs a holiday." Tang Xiu said, "Don't ask too much, Mom. I'll tell you later after the college entrance test." The most concerning matter for Su Lingyun now was Tang Xiu's college entrance test, so she said, "Xiu. You should be at school right now, yes? How come you come to the hospital?" Tang Xiu said with a laugh, "Evening is self-study session, so it's all right." "Mom, you haven't told me, why were you frowning? Is there any problem you cannot solve?" Su Lingyun hesitated a bit as she said with a forced smile, "Our family's business has just gotten better. And our income is much more than before. But who would have thought that guests would come smash it? So I began to calculate the remaining money in our hands right now. It's only tens of thousands of yuan, it wouldn't be enough to renovate the restaurant." Tang Xiu laughed involuntarily and said, "It turns out to be only this. Don't worry. Just give the renovation matter to Banzhou again. He has a lot of connections and can buy the materials for renovation at a low price. Besides, the president of this Chinese medical hospital invited me to be a visiting doctor in this hospital. So, for fear that I won't comply with my promise, he gave an advance payment of 100,000 yuan. He said that it's half a year's salary. I'll give the money to Banzhou and the others so you don't have to worry too about managing the renovation matter. When you've been discharged from the hospital, you'll be able to reopen the business again." Su Lingyun said, "Son, the doctor said that it would take 2 or 3 months for my wounds to be completely healed. If we close the business for 2 or 3 months, I'm afraid. Anyway, I believe in Banzhou, Dingzi, and the other children. Wait for them to recover from their wounds and give them the renovation matter, and I'll also give them some rights to handle the business in the restaurant." Tang Xiu's brows raised. He turned his head and looked at Banzhou and Dingzi with a satisfied expression. Then, he said with a smile, "Okay, since my mother is willing to give this matter to you, you take care of the renovation and the business, and upgrade the decoration and the scale a little higher." "All right." Banzhou and Dingzi immediately became overjoyed. Their hearts were particularly moved by the trust Su Lingyun gave them. And they secretly were determined that they must expand the restaurant size with more stylish decorations and operate it better than before. Knock, knock. The door was knocked as the inpatient director with a few doctors in white coats came to inspect the ward. After he saw Tang Xiu, his eyes suddenly turned bright as he greeted with a smile, Mr. Tang, I didn't expect that you would be here. I'll tell the canteen to make some special meals immediately. Tang Xiu said with a laugh, thank you. The smile on the inpatient department director's face became more brilliant. He waved and said, you don't need to be that polite, Mr. Tang. This is the command from the president. How is it? There's nothing wrong with your mother? Su Lingyun promptly replied, I'm fine, thanks Director Wang. The inpatient department director said with a laugh, it's good to hear. Then, I'll let you back to your things. I have to go to other wards for an inspection. Along with the departure of the inpatient department director, with a bit of complicated expression, Su Lingyun looked at Tang Xiu and said, Xiu. There are things I have yet to ask you. You have an acquaintance, no? Tang Xiu said, yes, why? Su Lingyun suddenly tensed up and asked once again, what's his name? Is he surnamed Tang? What do you mean? Tang Xiu was quite baffled with his mother's question, but he still honestly replied, Mom, it's not surnamed Tang, but Long. He's the one who arranged for you to be able to move to the VIP ward. The nervous expression on Su Lingyun's face slowly receded. She nodded and said, it's not a surname Tang, that's good. Ah. Right. Before you said that you have read a medical book, yes? You also have cured the patient the president was unable to cure? Is it for real? Xiu. You have to be an honest child. If you don't have the ability, quickly return that 100,000 yuan to him and don't become a visiting doctor in this hospital. Tang Xiu said with a laugh, Mom, don't worry. Ever since I was a child, have you seen me doing things I cannot handle? Su Lingyun wanted to speak but hesitated. Tang Xiu said with a consoling tone, Mom, I indeed have read a lot of medical books after school. I also understand a lot about Chinese medicinal herbs' properties. I did cure that little girl. Fine then, after I've attended the college entrance test, I'll take you to visit her. Anyway, let's drop this topic. Quickly drink the chicken soup, Mom. Half an hour later, Tang Xiu left the hospital. When he returned to Southgate Town, he ran across Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan, along with the other two girls. Tang Xiu was not familiar with the other two girls, he did not even know their names. Eldest brother, you finally showed up. Are you really living in this place? Also, isn't this way too upscale? Since we don't live here, the security guards didn't want to even let us enter the front gate. So I was just about to call you. Upon seeing Tang Xiu, Yuan Chuling immediately came up and greeted him with a happy expression. Tang Xiu said with a laugh, the security in this place is great. Since you have come, then just go with me. About Teacher Han, I also have contacted her, that later, you can come here every night. Cheng Yannan looked at Tang Xiu a few times and asked with curiosity, Tang Xiu, I can tell that you seem to have changed. With a confused expression, Tang Xiu replied, changed? What do you mean? Cheng Yannan said, I sure did remember that your skin was not that white before. And I think that you are a lot taller than before. Could it be that you've eaten that bodybuilder supplement stuff these past weeks? Tang Xiu suddenly understood. He had a cultivation breakthrough, and he indeed become taller. As for the skin, due to a lot of impurities inside his bode being discharged, his skin naturally became whiter than before. However, in order to divert Yannan's attention, he said with a smile, I didn't expect that you really observed me that intensely. What is it? You have a crush on me? Bah. Chang Yannan's charming face turned scarlet as she hurriedly threw her face over to the side. Yuan Chuling said with a smile full of surprise, eldest brother, saying that one day apart seems like 3 years is really true. I haven't seen you for a week or two, and your EQ just turned this high? Man, you even dare to tune and dally with a big beauty? Tune your sister on, will you? Tang Xiu glared at him snappily as he strode toward the villa complex. Swiping the card and having entered the villa's courtyard, Yuan Chuling was as if seeing a new continent. He constantly looked at the scene in the courtyard. When he followed Tang Xiu into the villa's hall, he suddenly exclaimed, "Holy heavens! Eldest brother, did you really rob the bank? You even live in such magnificent place. I did hear that the villas in Southgate Town were damn expensive, but I didn't expect that it would luxurious to this degree. This villa should be priced at 9 digits, shouldn't it?" Tang Xiu said lightly, "Somebody gave me it, I spent not a dime." "No way." Yuan Chuling cried out in a strange expression, his saucer eyes stared as he asked, "Someone gave you this? You couldn't be a gigolo some rich women are fostering, right?" Pfft. Chen Yannan and the other two girls could not help but smile and laugh. Although they did feel shocked upon seeing that Tang Xiu was living in such a luxurious villa, but Yuan Chuling's teasing was really funny. However, they could feel that Yuan Chuling and Tang Xiu's relationship was really close. Tang Xiu ignored Yuan Chuling and looked at Mu Qingping, saying, "They are my classmates. They will come here to study every night until the college entrance test. After 2 hours or so, please send us some supper." "All right." Mu Qingping nodded with a smile. Yuan Chuling said with an astonished expression, "Eldest brother, having this villa with a nanny is way too extravagant, right?" Tang Xiu snappily said, "She is my _housekeeper_. You can call her elder sister Mu." "Good, I have told Sis Mu to clean up the meeting room, we'll make up your missed lessons there." At the meeting room on the first floor. The room was 40 to 50 square meters big. It was oval-shaped with a conference table that was neatly placed with dozens of chairs. Before each of their seats there was tea waiting for them. The degree of luxury in this place made even Yuan Chuling, who was a young master of a rich family, become secretly tongue-tied, let alone the other two girls. It seemed that Cheng Yannan was accustomed to the situation since she did not look surprised. "You first study on your own. I need to speak with Sister Mu first." Tang Xiu called and greeted them. Then, he led Mu Qingping to the corridor outside and said, "I've talked with Yinyin. She said that she has dropped 2 years' worth of curriculum and she doesn't want to go to school for the time being. But I have hired private tutors from a cram school outside. They will come here every morning, afternoon, and evening to teach Yinyin. If she can make up for the dropped curriculum, I'll send her to school by September 1st, and I will also be having campus life later." With a grateful expression, Mu Qingping looked at Tang Xiu and quietly nodded her head. She could feel the love and care Tang Xiu had toward her daughter. Then, she said, "Thank you, Mr. Tang." Tang Xiu waved and said, "I will call you Sister Mu later, and you call me Tang Xiu." "Ah. Right, text me your bank account number, I'll transfer some money to your bank account." Mu Qingping quickly said, Mr. Tang." Tang Xiu, "I have some money." Chapter 137, Magical. Tang Xiu said, "That's your money, you can keep it. Since you want to be my housekeeper, I will naturally give you money for your living cost as usual. In addition, your salary, you're to be paid 20,000 yuan a month temporarily. Wait till I become richer, I will raise your wage again." For a moment, Mu Qingping was hesitant before she nodded silently. Tang Xiu looked at Mu Qingping's expression. He suddenly recalled the time when he was in the immortal world and then thought that he must not buy people's heart just like before, for the results turned out that he was deserted by friends and allies. And now since he was back to the modern world, he decided to change himself, so he continued speaking, "Sister Mu, since you want to be my housekeeper, then you are my family member. Much less that Yinyin is my apprentice. Therefore, wherever my home will be, it will be yours also. I hope that there wouldn't be much courtesy between us later. Later on, if you have no money or have anything you need, you can tell me freely. As long as I can do it, I'll definitely do it." "Family?" Mu Qingping froze. A layer of mist slowly emerged in her eyes. Since her husband died in a car accident and her daughter contracted a strange illness, she sold her house afterward and no longer felt the warmth of home. And now, listening to Tang Xiu's words, happiness hit her heart at the moment. Having a home and also having a lot of loved ones. Mu Qingping whispered inside her heart. In this split second, she felt closer toward Tang Xiu. Thank you. Mu Qingping's lips wriggled a few times as she replied with a low voice as though a mosquito's flapping wings. Tang Xiu smiled and said, all right. I'll go to them for the missed lesson makeup. You can rest first. Okay. Mu Qingping nodded and turned away. After a moment. With his spiritual sense, Tang Xiu observed and found that Mu Qingping was back in her room and directly sat on the bed, held her knees and was crying. A poor woman. Tang Xiu secretly sighed in his heart. He suddenly thought of his mother as his heart turned sour immediately. At present, Mu Qingping was like this, and what about his mother? Mu Qingping only met him and he considered her as his family member. Wasn't his mother would like this also? She had brought him up through bitter hardships. And how many hardships had she gone through? How much pain has she suffered? How many times have she cried secretly? At this very moment, Tang Xiu secretly swore to never let his mother suffer even the slightest bit of grievance and feel wronged. Returning to the meeting room, Tang Xiu saw that 4 people were whispering at each other. He cleared his throat and said, starting from tomorrow, bring all of your high school books year 1 and 2 here. My teaching method is simple. As long as you can master the skills, you will be easily able to learn all the contents inside the textbooks. Of course, after all we are facing a college entrance test. So I will extract all the important contents from the year 1, 2, and 3 textbooks for you and strive to make the results on your college entrance test significantly improve. Chang Yannan held little hope for Tang Xiu's method. Initially when Tang Xiu spoke in private with Yuan Chuling to make up for missed subjects and classes, she was brain incensed and put forward the words to study together. But, seeing such a confident expression from Tang Xiu, she did not feel that it was right to refute Tang Xiu and asked, then, what will we study today, Tang Xiu? Tang Xiu said, today, since you haven't brought your year 1 and 2 textbooks, we'll discuss about the 3rd year contents. Language and literature for 1 needs to be accumulated, but I can tell you the key points for the college entrance test. If my guesses are not mistaken, it should be helpful for you guys. As for foreign language and mathematics, physics, chemistry, these 4 subjects. You can ask me which part you don't understand or where you usually wrongly answer the topic in the test so I can point it out to you. Good. The 4 of them opened their textbooks, and then asked out the topic they usually did not understand. With Tang Xiu's clear track of thinking method and structured words as well as his usage of the case analytical method, the topics they did not understand from the simplest to the most difficult were explained to them layer by layer in reasoning. A full of 2 hours had passed by and everyone had lost track of the time. Whenever Tang Xiu explained the problem solving for the topic, they were pleasantly surprised as they suddenly were able to figure about it clearly at once for the topics they did not understand previously. So much that if they could grasp one fundamental point, the rest would be easier to understand. This is so magical. Before, teacher has repeatedly explained this math problem and I didn't understand it. But after Tang Xiu's explanation, I unexpectedly and suddenly understood it. It's just like the clouds dispersed and I can see a bright sunny day. You are amazing, Tang Xiu. I think your level compared to our math teacher must be way higher. A girl named Xiao Wanfan exclaimed her admiration. In addition, the girl called Li Xiaoqian also exclaimed in admiration, Tang Xiu has just explained a chemistry topic for me. And that's really skillful. According to his formula in explaining the analysis, it clears up my mind for a lot of related contents. If later I run across similar topics, I can easily answer them absolutely. That's my eldest brother for you. He's indeed worthy to be my idol. Yuan Chuling stretched out his thumb and said with a face full of smiles. As for Chang Yannan, the reserved contempt inside her heart had vanished at the moment. Each topic in each discipline, Tang Xiu had explained today, it had given her a great shock. Those topics, some of them she had found the solution to, but it could not be compared to the solution approaches as explained by Tang Xiu. It was simple and structured. With layer upon layer of logical reasoning and analysis, it was very quick to get the correct answers. Chang Yannan looked at Tang Xiu and said earnestly, originally, I thought that by relying on my results, passing the test for a second-class university would be a narrow and difficult call. But after having gone through your counseling, I have the confidence to even pass the college entrance test's first-class university. Tang Xiu, thanks a bunch. Tang Xiu waved and said, don't mention it. Just wait until you get excellent results from the test and be admitted to a top university. Just remember to treat me to a meal when you have time later. Sure thing. Chang Yannan and the other two girls nodded repeatedly. Yuan Chuling touched his chin and said with a laugh, eldest brother, even if I don't get admitted to the top university, I'll treat you to a meal. No, I'll even kowtow to you for many times. My dad and mom also said to take you to visit our home. Let's talk about it later. Tang Xiu said with a tranquil expression. He did not want to see Yuan Chuling's mother as of now. Otherwise, the matter that he had saved her and the killings would be exposed, completely. Although he was perfectly aware that Yuan Chuling's mother had probably guessed correctly that it was him, but she did not see him again after all. Even if she guessed, she would not be 100% sure. Are you ready for supper? Mu Qingping in the apron came to the meeting room as she said with face full of smiles. At this moment, she seemed a few years younger with a radiant face. Tang Xiu was clear that Mu Qingping was crying when she returned back to her room before. It could be said that more than 2 years of depression and feeling wronged had all been vented. Even later on, she decided to start a new life. Let's eat now. Tang Xiu answered and led the other 4 to the dining room. Wow. This is really a supper? Isn't it too sumptuous? Xia Wanfen looked at the fine dishes on the table with such appetizing fragrance that hit the nose, as she stared with big eyes and exclaimed out loud. Yuan Chuling sat on the chair and exclaimed in admiration, damn, what a luxury. Not only the color, flavor, and taste of the dishes are great, even just this hot pot soup, unexpectedly uses Chinese herbal medicine. I'm so damn convinced. Eldest brother, you are now just like an emperor. How about I move in to live with you? Request denied. I'm afraid I would be eaten thoroughly by you. Tang Xiu smiled to sit down. Yuan Chuling rolled his eyes and grunted twice as he began to eat. The 4 of them ate the supper with great appetite. Because the meal was very sumptuously prepared, although each of them ate a lot, but more than half of the dishes were still left. Shortly after, a few of them rested for a while, after which Tang Xiu began to direct them again. Until it was before dawn did the 4 of them give up to continue studying. Looking at some weariness of the other 4, Tang Xiu asked faintly, it's already very late. Are you returning to school? Or will you spend the night here? If you spend the night here, you can go to the guest rooms to rest. I have got things to do tomorrow, so I can't go to school to attend class. And have your breakfast before all of you leave. This is not good. Chang Yannan usually lived in school. This was her first time spending the night in a classmate's home and felt that it was inappropriate. The other 2 girls also showed a hesitating expression. Tang Xiu said, if you don't want to spend the night here, you can go back. The real estate management office should have someone on duty now and I'll ask them whether they have a car to take you back to school. Yuan Chuling said loudly, hey, it's so late. If we go back to school now, how many hours are we gonna sleep? Tonight I won't go back and sleep here. Eldest brother, gimme a room. Later on after studying every night I'll sleep here. Chang Yannan looked at the other two girls as she finally nodded and said, well, since it's so late, don't call people from the real estate management office. I'll stay here. We'll stay also. Seeing that Chang Yannan agreed, the other two girls also nodded. As you wish. There are a lot of guest rooms here, enough for you to sleep. Sister Mu shouldn't be sleeping now, so I'll ask her to arrange them for you. Half an hour later. Inside a guest room, Li Xiaoqian and Xiao Wanfan, who decided to stay in the same room, took a bath, wearing their pajamas and sat side by side on the bedside, chatting. Xiaoqian, we have been misunderstood Tang Xiu before, big time. Unexpectedly, he let go of the past animosity. He not only helped us make up for the missed lessons, he even asked someone to prepare supper for us and let us to stay in his house. He's really good. I also have never thought that Tang Xiu would have such a good disposition like this. At first, I was worried that Tang Xiu would bicker about the matter at school. But it seems my worries were unnecessary now since he's very amiable. That bastard Su Xiangfei has always been bad-mouthing Tang Xiu behind his back. When we got back to school tomorrow, we should tell everyone that those were Su Xiangfei's lies and Tang Xiu is not such a person. I used to think that Su Xiangfei was very graceful and his academic record is also good. Never did I expect that his character is that bad. We must let the class know his true face. Right. Today we gained something big. If we really got good results in the college entrance test, we have to express our thanks and treat him to a meal and ask him to sing. No problem. Chapter 138, A Land with Precious Feng Shui. There was an overgrown piece of land that had been undeveloped for a long time near Star City Development Zone. It was once auctioned by the city and was sold at a very good price. Unfortunately, the businessman who bought this land was caught up with his company management issues and finally got bankrupt and left, as the government then took the land back. Afterward, some people also wanted to buy this piece of land. However, whenever they invited those of the so-called feng shui masters to help them look at the auspiciousness of the land, those people said that the feng shui of this piece of land was very poor. Since businessmen believed in feng shui, a lot of people who wanted to buy this piece of land finally left the matter unchecked and withdrew. In the early morning, the first ray of sunlight rose from the horizon when two off-road vehicles roared and stopped in the vicinity of this land as 3 men and a woman then got off from the cars. I've handled the matters, so you can be at ease. This land is said to have a poor feng shui, but I don't give a thought nor do I believe about it. However, the city hall is anxious to sell it off. That's the reason why I used my connections and easily bought the land at a very low price. The area is quite big, and it's more than enough to build 10 edifices here. Long Zhengyu, who walked in the middle of the four, pointing at the overgrown uncultivated land in front and spoke. Chui said with a faint smile, you said that you were at ease, eh? I believe that the Long family didn't use substandard connections, no? Since I've heard that you went to the city hall and had a drink with the leader from the government until 2 p.m. last night. Long Zhengyu said with a laugh, having breakfast in order to get the written approval and at the same time hitting a deal with the transaction procedures, haven't I served them competently, right? Anyway, I've assigned someone to handle it. At the latest of 1 week, this plot of land will really be ours. Bai Tao said, what I'm most concerned about is, when will Tang Xiu come? For this large business investment, I have used nearly all the reserve funds from my family. If it weren't for my dad knew that I have some cooperation with you, he would have simply rejected. A smiling expression hung out on Ouyang Lulu's mouth as she said, Bai Tao, before I have yet to join, where you seemed like you're able to come up with more funds? Humph, before, you looked well-behaved and prudent, never did I expect that your conscience would only be at such. Ugh. Bai Tao's looks froze before he immediately let out a forced smile out of embarrassment. Old friend. You can beat anyone without slapping their faces, you know? You also can curse somebody without exposing their shortcomings. Damn, what you said, how could I endure this? The three others burst into a laughter. Long Zhengyu said with a smile, I called Tang Xiu in the early morning. And he said that he will rush over and catch up with us. Guys, as we have discussed about our agreement before, that 10% shares for Tang Xiu, even if later we will inject additional funds, we cannot dilute his shares. Got it. Understood. The other three nodded in unison. After having gotten positive answers, Long Zhengyu smiled again and said, our project this time is only constructing an edifice. If we have more money in the future, we also can start another project. Tang Xiu can get the shares from this project, so he would also strive to have more other projects. Okay, let's come down and inspect this plot of land as to how many projects we can make here. And if that guy wants to make money, it's necessary for us to tie him up onto our war chariot. Ouyang Lulu's eyes brightened up as she faced Long Zhengyu and raised her thumbs up, praising. I have long heard that the famous young Master Long is resourceful and is a rare outstanding talent of the business world. Today, I finally see and experience it myself. For my family, we are very much hoping that Tang Xiu and I would be able to have many cooperations. What Ouyang Lulu said was not false. The night when Tang Xiu had left, she returned back to the Ouyang family's ancestral home to see her father and grandfather. She even found that her often disappearing mother was also at home. Even her mother and older brother also misunderstood that she and Tang Xiu had a special relationship. Even after she had explained it, her mother was still hoping that she and Tang Xiu would get closer. For Ouyang Lulu, it was crystal clear for the reason why her family was hoping that she became closer with Tang Xiu. On one hand, her mother hoped that she and Tang Xiu's relationship would develop, so that Tang Xiu would become the ideal son-in-law of the Ouyang family. On the other hand, it was also inseparable with Tang Xiu's identity as a cultivator. In this world, cultivators were as rare as phoenix's feathers and Qilin's horn. If any family could have a relationship with a cultivator, they would definitely benefit greatly from that. Their Ouyang family had now been developed into one of the largest and the best families on Jingmen Island, but they also had come to a bottleneck. Thus, from Tang Xiu's identity, it was as if they were able to see the space for bigger development. Long Zhengyu said with a smile, in fact, as long as Tang Xiu is tied to our train, I believe that there will be more surprises. Such as some rich and powerful people are also considering to have business cooperation and want to do real estate business. Chu Yi confused, which rich and powerful person? Long Zhengyu said with a smile, Chen Zhizhong, the Endless Virtue Pharmaceuticals boss. Of course, he's also Tang Xiu's apprentice. Say what? Chu Yi and Bai Tao's complexion changed. They have sent someone to investigate Tang Xiu before and heard the rumors that he and Chen Zhizhong's relationship was unusual. Chen Zhizhong even publicly said he was worshipping Tang Xiu as a master. But it turned out that this matter was even true. Ouyang Lulu squinted as she nodded and said, what an unusual and unconventional man. For me, Tang Xiu is unfathomably deep. I believe that the surprises he'll be giving to us surely will be more than this. Half an hour later, a taxi came roaring. When Tang Xiu got off from the cab and then saw Long Zhengyu and the others were nearby, one thing that he did not expect was the three people around him since he had seen them before. It's you? Tang Xiu's eyes swept from the Ouyang Lulu and eventually fixated on Chu Yi and Bai Tao. Chu Yi said with a smile, hello Tang Xiu. We had small problems on Jingmen Island before. But I hope you don't mind and take that to your heart. In fact, before we went to Jingmen Island, we came to Star City first and heard about you from Long Zhengyu. I've always wanted to see you, but never did I expect that I would run into you in Jingmen Island. Bai Tao with his frank disposition was also smiled and said, yes. At that time, we knew that you are Tang Xiu from Long Zhengyu, and want to send you that jade pendant that time. Tang Xiu nodded. He also knew that matter. In fact, Chu Yi and Bai Tao had no much intercross with him since the real opponent that time was Chen Kai and Yi Taifu. Moreover, in order to be on a good term with him, Chu Yi and Bai Tao sent him such big gift for him with hardships. So he did not want to pursue the past matter and put it down. Finally, his eyes fell on Ouyang Lulu and said with a forced smile, and, how did you get here? Long Zhengyu said it's the cooperation with his two friends. That should be them, but how did you get together with them? Ouyang Lulu's charming face turned supercilious greatly as she looked at Tang Xiu and said with a resentful and dissatisfied expression, what's with how I have gotten here? That two guys are the one who invited me to invest here. Else, do you think I want to see a guy without conscience like you? A guy without conscience. Long Zhengyu, Chu Yi, and Bai Tao stared blankly for a moment and looked at each other immediately. Why did it sound that they were flirting with each other? After finished speaking, Ouyang Lulu also realized the problems with her words. Her graceful face turned scarlet immediately, but she did not explain further. From the beginning, Tang Xiu did not have such the thoughts. Whilst looking at a resentful and dissatisfied looks from Ouyang Lulu, he smiled wryly in secret as he said, forget it as to how and what you want to cooperate since I came to look at the place. Anyway, is this the place? This place has a very good feng shui pattern. If we construct a large building here, no matter it is a transportation, convenient traffic and geographical position, it's very easy to develop this place into a bustling area. But Long Zhengyu promptly asked, but what? Tang Xiu pointed to the immediate land, said, but if we only want an edifice here, I think it's quite wasteful. In my view, it's better to construct the edifice here and then surround it with a bustling commercial ring and a high-end residential area. Take a look at that side. Even though it's quite far away from the road to this place, the area there is bigger. If we can use it reasonably, it will boost the value of this place. The other four looked at each other. Even in their dream, they had never thought that Tang Xiu's views would coincide with their ideas. Long Zhengyu probed further, Brother Tang, according to your words, the bustling commercial ring and high-end residential area could be built here. Can you design the entire area completely? It's easy. Too many magnificent and breathtaking buildings Tang Xiu had ever seen. Even if he was to design it on the scoop of a gourd, he could easily do it. Long Zhengyu immediately excited and spoke in a deep tone, Brother Tang, we'll go all out with your suggestion. However, our funds are limited and at the most we're only able to build one edifice only. If the following stage is fine, we can discuss the cooperation and develop this place together. Tang Xiu nodded and said, if there is a follow-up project I will participate. Right. I need money now. Has Tai Long given you the money? Long Zhengyu said, I've sent all Tai Long's assets to be evaluated. There are a total of more than 135 million yuans. His fixed assets will be taken by my Long family. Later on I will ask the finance company to transfer the money into your bank account. Good. Tang Xiu nodded. Although he had yet to reach the late stage of the skin strengthening stage now, but for the future needs of medicinal herbs, precious minerals, and other things, he should prepare it. With money in his hand, if he came across them later, he would not miss it. Recalling that 1,000 years old wild ginseng before, Tang Xiu felt some sense of pity. Suddenly, Tang Xiu's face moved. He looked at the four rich people at the front and said, all of you should come from a powerful background and you should have a lot of channels and connections. I will send you a detailed list of medicinal herbs and precious minerals. If you would like to help, please help me find those medicinal ingredients I need. As for the price, you can say that to me. Long Zhengyu said with a confused expression, Brother Tang, what are you buying medicinal herbs and precious minerals for? Ouyang Lulu quickly said, I know that Tang Xiu is a very skilled traditional Chinese medicine doctor. So it should be used for medicine, no? But for those precious ores, I don't know what he want to do with them. Tang Xiu said, I have my own use. Chu Yi said, Tang Xiu, I'll take your request and I give you my word to manage it. Once I have the news, I'll immediately inform you. Me too. Bai Tao said. A trace of smiling expression exposed on Tang Xiu's face as he said, thank you. In between their conversation, Tang Xiu's cell phone's ringtone sounded. When he took his phone out and saw the caller ID, his face suddenly changed. After he picked up the phone, he said, Gu Xiaoxue, it's you at last. Chapter 139, A Car Driver. Gu Xiaoxue. The few people who paid attention to the contents of Tang Xiu's talk stared blankly for a moment. Their vision concentrated on Tang Xiu in the instant. They were familiar with the name as a stunning and charming beauty who could topple a nation, could not help but emerge inside their mind. I got it. Wait for me there. Tang Xiu said and then hung up the phone straightly. He looked at Long Zhengyu and said, I have a minor urgent matter so I need to leave immediately. This plot of land is good, you can buy this place and develop it. In addition, send me the data about this land's area, length, width, and other data after you've surveyed it. Once you've bought the land, I'll start drawing for the architectural design. After having said that, he turned around and walked toward the distance. Ouyang Lulu watched Tang Xiu deeply. She strode over and blocked Tang Xiu as she asked quickly, wasn't the one who called you Gu Xiaoxue? The little boss of the Everlasting Feast Hall in Jingmen Island? Yes. Tang Xiu nodded. Ouyang Lulu said, I and Gu Xiaoxue are good sisters. Since she came to Star City and I happen to be with you, I'll take you and meet her together. No. Tang Xiu did not think further and directly refused. The topic he and Gu Xiaoxue were about to talk were extremely confidential, and absolutely could not be spread to a third person's ear. Much less that he also had already prepared to face the danger after he decided to see Gu Xiaoxue this time. In the case that Gu Xiaoxue was involved with those of his inner circle who had betrayed and persecuted him, and he needed to fight by then, for him to escape later would be a problem. So, how could he have the opportunity to help and save Ouyang Lulu? Ouyang Lulu's complexion changed. Without her realizing, a trace of sour and acid expression and tone was brought out as she asked, why not? Do you have a shameful shady business you don't want people to look at? And is it inconvenient if I'm present? That's right. It's shameful. Tang Xiu nodded and said. As low his EQ as he always been, he did not listen clearly to Ouyang Lulu's words that contained deep meaning. Ouyang Lulu was dumbfounded. She did not expect that Tang Xiu would reply in such a straightforward and direct manner, which made her directly aborted the words she already prepared to say. Even she found herself to be left speechless. Shameless. After she held back for quite a long while, only then did she speak this word. Tang Xiu shook his head and ignored Ouyang Lulu. After he turned out and walked for a few steps, his pace suddenly stopped. With a bit of weird expression, he turned and asked, do you really want to go with me? Yes. Ouyang Lulu blurted out, but in her heart, she secretly regretted for losing her own manner and calmness. She could not figure out as to why would she have a crazy stressing feeling every time she faced Tang Xiu. In the past, she could control everything. But being together with Tang Xiu, the rhythm which they intercross each other, was controlled by Tang Xiu. This taste made her very depressed, and way much crashing and collapsing. Tang Xiu let out a smile, but yet not a smiling expression as a light of deceitful expression flashed from his eyes. Then, he said with light smile, since you want to go together with me, then let's go. But I don't have a car, so you take me for a ride. Got it. Ouyang Lulu took out the car key and strode toward A with Land Rover, hurriedly started and headed toward the end of the road fast. She had always been wild and domineering toward others, and that white Land Rover SUV truly matched her character. Vroom. The roar of the engine echoed in the wilderness as the white Land Rover SUV was as though a white arrow, as it rushed straight toward the far end of the road. At the roadside, Long Zhengyu, Chu Yi, and Bai Tao looked at each other with a strange expression on their faces. Cough, cough. Bai Tao raised his thumbs up with a smiling expression. He exclaimed in admiration, Zhengyu, Tang Xiu is no longer your idol, but also this Bai Tao's idol. What a damn mother, so damn amazing. He can even pack up Ouyang Lulu and tame this wild horse to become docile. Including Gu Xiaoxue, that ice and snow belle rushes from a far distance all the way to Star City to rendezvous with her lover. This guy is the lady killer of all single belles. Chewie let out a strange smile. I thought that it was my guts that was mistaken. I didn't expect that you also aware about it, Bai Tao. Did you see that our old friend, Lulu's face expression and tone? It was really sour. Bai Tao let out a mischievous laughter and said, I dare to swear that Ouyang Lulu will be planted in the hands of Tang Xiu, my idol. She has a keen eyesight and is a one-of-a-kind woman. Rarely excited and unmoved, but once her true feelings are moved and aroused, TSK, she will be going one way to the end. Listening to the two's dialogue, on the contrary, a forced smiling expression emerged out on Long Zhengyu's face as he said, having love affairs often are meddlesome. And Tang Xiu, he might have good IQ, but I can tell that his EQ is not high. It's not necessarily a good thing for him to be hawked and entangled by so many women in the future. Huh? Chu Yi and Bai Tao glanced at each other and then turned their heads toward Long Zhengyu with a huge supercilious expression. Bai Tao said with a ridicule, Big young Master Long, you cannot say that the grapes are sour when you can't eat them. Whether it is Ouyang Lulu or that Gu Xiaoxue, they are exceptionally intelligent girls. It's because Tang Xiu's EQ is not high that attracts them to this big lady killer. If you don't believe me, just wait and see that Tang Xiu sooner or later will lay with the intoxicated beauties down his knees, waking up with the palm of the beauties, becoming a man who has the luck with romance and women without even lifting a finger. Beat it. Leave me out of that topic. Long Zhengyu was at a loss whether he had to laugh or cry as he said that. Speeding along the road, inside the Land Rover SUV, Ouyang Lulu was holding the steering wheel and seemed a bit absent-minded. She was thinking deeply about the relation between Tang Xiu and Gu Xiaoxue. She knew Gu Xiaoxue's personality. If there was no special relationship between the two, it was impossible for her to come all the way to Star City to find Tang Xiu. She almost would not come out of the Everlasting Feast Hall, even for a half step. Tang Xiu went to the Everlasting Feast Hall and broke in through the Thousand Revolution Array, demonstrated his extraordinary skill and shone there. Could it be that they got hooked up at that time? Ouyang Lulu thought in depression. Hey, concentrate on driving. Tang Xiu took back his vision from the window and suddenly reminded as he found that Ouyang Lulu was absent-minded. Ouyang Lulu glanced at Tang Xiu from the side whilst focusing on driving and pretended to ask casually, Tang Xiu, we can be considered to have shared hardships. And also friends who lived together. Our relation should have reached the point for us to be able to ask about anything, no? Tang Xiu turned his face toward the window since he was unwilling to respond to Ouyang Lulu. He really did not understand, just when had he shared hardships with her. And that living together, that was totally wrong. That could not be considered as living together. It could only be regarded as living together under one roof. Staying inside two different rooms in one house. He even gave her the Twina massage for free, to help treat her wounds. Ouyang Lulu seemed to have long been used to Tang Xiu's indifferent and apathetic appearance. She did not angry and continued asking with a faint smile that looked like not a smile, Since we are good friends and can talk about anything, you should talk to me. What's your relationship with Gu Xiaoxue? Are you dating her? Have a chat with your grandmother. These words had almost blurted out from Tang Xiu's mouth. He did not know what relationship he had with Gu Xiaoxue now. Perhaps they were mortal and sworn enemy. Ouyang Lulu's brows slanted and she said, silent represents that it's a tacit approval. I didn't expect that you have a gossipy heart. Drive the car well. If you dilly-dally again, I will throw you out. Tang Xiu snapped. You. Ouyang Lulu was furious. But looking at the impatient looks Tang Xiu had, she finally suppressed the depressed feeling in her heart as she looked at the front with a fierce expression and suddenly stepped deeper, on the accelerator. You're overspeeding, you will be fined and get a penalty. Although he did not have a driver license, but Tang Xiu also knew this common knowledge. Ouyang Lulu angrily said, you want to drive? Ugh. Tang Xiu let out a forced smile and sighed secretly in his heart. Woman's inner world was really a seabed of needles. He really did not understand what kind of thoughts were inside this woman's mind. Starlight Edifice. Gu Xiaoxue wore a white floating skirt as she carried along with her a white handbag. She was as though a fairy maiden who appeared in the mortal world, a being that was out of tune and incompatible with the noisy scenes in the surrounding. Her stunning and outstanding posture was as if a magnet that attracted all eyes of men in the surrounding, as well as sucked in the eyes of most women. However, a chilling aura exuded out of her body, causing countless men who wanted to come up and strike up at her shrunk back. Finally, a self-thought and feeling to be handsome and graceful guy raised his head up to strive in making his gesture to showcase his special charm, as a man. He approached and said with a smile, young lady, is there anything I can assist you with? Go away. Gu Xiaoxue's voice was very sweet, but the words she spat out made the handsome guy's face froze. A forced and wry smile occupied his face as he immediately stepped and hid to the side. What a self-thought guy who bites more than he can chew. A frog wants to eat a swan meat and his results is disgracing himself, no? She's really a goddess, her sex appeal is way too strong. Even those women celebrities on TV are so far away from her. This goddess is simply could not be compared to anyone. If I can marry such an iceberg beauty, even if I'll die sooner for 20 years, I'm also willing to do that. Let alone 20 years, even 30 years, I'm more than willing. She's really so beautiful, she makes my heart beat so fast. Gu Xiaoxue wanted to turn away. But she waited for Tang Xiu to come so she fought back the urge and continued waiting. She rarely had contact with the outside world and extremely unfamiliar with the situation to appear amongst such a big crowd, as well as not accustomed to be pointed by countless people. Creak. The sudden brake sound echoed in the vicinity, attracting a lot of people's eyes. Tang Xiu looked at Ouyang Lulu on the passenger seat and lightly said, thanks for sending me here. I have important things to discuss with Gu Xiaoxue. You can go now. What? Hearing Tang Xiu's words, Ouyang Lulu's eyes stared so big her eyes almost popped out. With a hard-to-believe expression, she raised her arms and used her point finger to point at her nose and asked, do you mean, you let me to come with you, is making me to be your driver? Do you have a problem? Asked Tang Xiu. Fuck your own sister. Ouyang Lulu no longer able to bear it anymore and could not help but burst out such profane and foul words. Tang Xiu replied muddily and carelessly, I am the lone son, I got no sister though. Anyway, take care. I won't send you off. Then, he pushed the car's door, getting off and then walked toward Gu Xiaoxue nearby. With a fierce expression, Ouyang Lulu stared at Tang Xiu's back and immediately unlocked her seatbelt and chased out in big strides. She did not believe that even if Tang Xiu did not welcome her, would her good friend, Gu Xiaoxue also refused her? Xiaoxue, I'm so glad to see you. Ouyang Lulu strode and sprinted to the front of Gu Xiaoxue and affectionately pulled her little hand and called out. Chapter 140, Solving the Doubts. Gu Xiaoxue frowned. Although she was also very happy to see Ouyang Lulu, but the things she had to discuss with Tang Shou today were extremely important. Moreover, she felt very strange as to why Ouyang Lulu and Tang Shou would be together. Immediately, she looked at Tang Shou with eyes full of questions. I pulled her on temporarily as my driver, and I cannot throw her out. So, it's your call. Tang Shou came to the front of the Gu Xiaoxue and lightly said. Gu Xiaoxue suddenly understood. With a bit of an apologizing expression, she looked at Ouyang Lulu and said, Lulu, I'm also very happy to see you in Star City. But Tang Shou and I have a very important matter to discuss. Could you give us some time and leave? Yes, after this, I will return to Jingmen Island and then contact you. What? A short circuit happened inside Ouyang Lulu's mind. Never did she expect that Gu Xiaoxue would be this obedient to do what Tang Shou asked. Was this her good sister? Could it be that Gu Xiaoxue was dead set and really had fallen in love with Tang Shou? Ouyang Lulu looked at Tang Shou and Gu Xiaoxue. With a helpless and a quite desperate expression, she nodded and said, Then have your chats, I'll go first. The onlookers nearby were curious upon seeing the Land Rover SUV came over. When they saw Tang Shou and Ouyang Lulu, they became dumbfounded immediately. Tang Shou was directly ignored by them as 99% of their eyes fixated on Ouyang Lulu. Because this beauty, either it was her appearance or her makings, was almost comparable with that floating white skirt fairy. Damn. Such good cabbages are arched by the pig. Only at this time did those people see Tang Shou with eyes full of intense envy. However, they then saw Ouyang Lulu back to the Land Rover SUV, drove it and leave directly. With a blazing flame expression, they also saw Tang Shou and Gu Xiaoxue walk toward the back of the building. Have I gone blind? Or have those two goddesses gone blind? How the hell are they related to that brat? Fuck. From where does that brat come from? Even a goddess is following him? Oh God. I'm broken-hearted. My dream lover has gone with another man. I want to skin and cut that fucking bastard's flesh. Why does he have such good luck with women? Tang Shou walked along Gu Xiaoxue side by side as they tacitly understood and did not speak with each other. The fourth floor of the Starlight edifice had a very famous viewing cafe in Star City, as by sitting near the windows, one could see panoramic view of most of the city area. What are you two want to have? An elegant and beautiful waiter came with a professional smile hung on her face as she asked. White water. White water. Tang Shou and Gu Xiaoxue spoke in unison. With an astonished expression, the waiter looked at them. She did not understand as to why they came to this cafe only to have white water. However, the guests were deity, so she must meet all the requests from the deity. Then, she said without any changes in her smiling face, then, please wait for a moment. Gu Xiaoxue's beautiful eyes looked at Tang Shou as she spoke with a sinking tone, on the phone. I remembered that you've mentioned that you are the one who created the water block dragon pen and the 1000 revolution array, yes? Is it true? With his spiritual sense, Tang Shou checked the surrounding and found that there were no other cultivators within several hundreds of meters. Only then did he feel relieved a bit and replied lightly, correct, it was I who created them. Gu Xiaoxue's body instantly stiffened as she said, as far as I know, the one who created the water block dragon pen and the 1000 revolution array was a supreme from the immortal world. He has the same name as you, Tang Shou. Can you explain to me what relationship the two of you have? Tang Shou said with a sigh, it seems like that you really know a lot. Originally, I didn't believe that some people from the immortal world would come to Earth. But contrary to my expectation, the fact doesn't turn out to be so. However, before I answer your question, you must tell me, who's your master? Why does your everlasting feast hall have the water block dragon pen and the 1,000 revolution array? Gu Yen. I've said her name to you. Gu Xiaoxue said. Tang Xiu shook his head and said seriously, what I want to ask is not only a name. I want to know her origin. Gu Xiaoxue deeply looked at Tang Xiu. After having silent for a long time, only then did she reply slowly, since you know about the immortal world, then I'll tell you. My master, she comes from the immortal world. Tang Xiu suddenly stood up due to being struck with excitement from the innermost of his heart. With a slightly shivering body and his 2 hands on the tabletop, he tightly stared at Gu Xiaoxue's eyes and spoke word by word. You can eat random food, but never must you speak irresponsible words. There's a spatial barrier between Earth and the immortal world. Moreover, there's no channel coordinate to Earth in the immortal world. So how come your master, she came to Earth? Gu Xiaoxue refused to be condescendingly treated by Tang Xiu. She stared back at him and said, naturally, my master has her own methods. I already answered your questions, now is your turn to answer mine. Tang Xiu fell into a silence. He sat back to his seat and slowly closed his eyes. After a long time, Tang Xiu opened his eyes again with bright light flashed from his eyes. Then he said indifferently, I want to ask you the last question. If your answers are to my satisfaction, I'll answer your questions. Do ask. Gu Xiaoxue knitted her brows, but still, she replied. Tang Xiu asked, have you heard about the names of Fairy Wanhua, Great Emperor Dan Jing, and Zither Demon Jiuyao? Fairy Wanhua. Great Emperor Dan Jing? Zither Demon Jiuyao? A cold murderous aura exuded from Gu Xiaoxue's body as she spoke in a sinking tone. For countless of times have I heard my master says these names in her unconscious state. They are all damned, they are all must die. They must die. Tang Xiu's heart got struck with a tremor as he could feel the murderous aura from Gu Xiaoxue. In this split moment, he finally determined that his beloved apprentice was still alive. Not only was she alive, but she also knew what happened to him. More importantly, she hated those damned bastards who had betrayed him, even she had strong killing intention toward them. Huff. The most worried things Tang Xiu had felt did not happen. This made his heart full of gratified feeling as the missing feeling he had toward his apprentice, the person he fostered and brought up, was also increasing. He looked at Gu Xiaoxue and seriously said, it was by chance and accident arising from many causes that went to the immortal world. For 10,000 years living in the immortal world and with a snap of the fingertips, it was gone. Perhaps my fate has nothing to owe as I did not vanish and my soul and consciousness returned back to earth. In this very life of mine, I have people I abhor the most as well as have someone who I miss the most. I have once received a disciple. Her name is Gu Yen. And I'm the one who bestowed her this name and also fostered and brought her up. Unfortunately. Gu Xiaoxue suddenly stood up. Her body trembled violently as she looked at Tang Xiu, who was full of recollecting his memories. Disregarding the gaze of everyone's eyes inside the coffee shop toward her, she circled around the table and directly knelt and exclaimed with a trembling voice, Grand Disciple Gu Xiaoxue, pays respect to the Grand Master. Tang Xiu hastily asked, Your master, is she really my disciple? Yes. Gu Xiaoxue's answer was particularly firm. Tang Xiu asked again, Where is she? Gu Xiaoxue said, Everlasting Feast Hall. Tang Xiu's pupil shrunk. And without hesitation, he said, Let's go to Jingmen Island now. And immediately go to the Everlasting Feast Hall. Time flew like an arrow. Being a master and but also a father, he finally obtained the news of his disciple. He could not wait and wish that he could grow wings and immediately flew to the Everlasting Feast Hall in Jingmen Island to see his disciple. He wanted to ask why there was no news from her in the past, and why was he unable to find her for thousands of years? Gu Xiaoxue stood up from the floor, but she did not follow Tang Xiu to go outside. The hanging expression of wanting to speak could be seen on her face, but she hesitated to do so. Upon seeing that Tang Xiu had went out for a dozen steps, she said with a forced smile, "Grand Master, could you please wait?" Tang Xiu stopped his pace as he turned around and asked with a surprised expression, "How haven't you walked out?" Gu Xiaoxue calmly walked toward Tang Xiu's side as she smiled wryly, "Grand Master, let's go back to our seat first. There are some things I have yet to tell you. When I have finished telling you those, you can decide whether we have to go to Jingmen Island now." Tang Xiu's brows knitted. He glanced at Gu Xiaoxue a few times, only then did he return back to the seat and sat down. Whilst looking at Gu Xiaoxue in front of him, he said, "Tell me, I'm listening." Gu Xiaoxue nodded slightly. She sorted out her next thoughts and then said, "Grand Master, have you heard about the space magic array?" Space magic array? Wasn't this the thing that the shade demon Zhu Wushou had never been passed on and spread out? Zhu Wushou was one of the strongest late-stage supreme in the immortal world who comprehended the mystery of time and space and created a powerful masterpiece of array, the space magic array. In the immortal world, if ones were to ask whose speed was the fastest and who had always researched about the strangest things, the answer without a doubt would be this demon shade Zhu Wushou. "I know." Tang Xiu nodded and said. Gu Xiaoxue slowly said, "Thousands of years ago, my master took a huge risk to infiltrate Time Island and thought of every means and effort to scheme against the shade demon Zhu Wushou, and became his direct disciple in order to obtain the array chart of this space magic array from him there. She fully focused on comprehending this array for a number of millennium, and then, Zhu Wushou also chased her for thousands of years afterwards. Finally, she was able to thoroughly comprehend the secret of space magic array. However, the last time she used this formation array, Zhu Wushou severely injured her with his twilight nightmare." "What did you say?" Tang Xiu's complexion greatly changed as all the suspicion and doubts within his heart all disappeared. He finally understood as to why his apprentice was able to come to Earth. Amongst all the supremes in the immortal world, if there was one person who had a glimmer of hope to arrive on Earth, the person undoubtedly was Zhu Wushou, for he was the one who comprehended the secret of time and space. And if there was his involvement and Zhu Wushou had some accounts to settle with him, he might be able to find Earth. However, when Tang Xiu was in the immortal world, he only had a few contacts with him and there was no debt to account between them. Moreover, if he wanted to calculate the Earth's space coordinate, he must possess an ability. That was, learning the ultimate secret of the Heavenly Emperor's star movement divination art. Otherwise Zhu Wushou would not be able to come to Earth. Tang Xiu could confirm that his beloved apprentice not only had learned the space magic array, but she also had learned the Heavenly Emperor's star advancement divination art there. "Have you finished?" Tang Xiu looked deeply at Gu Xiaoxue as he asked with a sinking tone. Gu Xiaoxue nodded and said, "Little do I know about my master's matter. And those are everything I know of." Tang Xiu got up again and said, "Let's go to Jingmen Island." When they arrived at the airport by car, Tang Xiu was depressed. There were only 2 flights to Jingmen Island every day, and the last flight had already taken off 20 minutes ago. If he wanted to go to Jingmen Island today, he need to find another way. However, the time to take another way would take a lot of time. And this was an unbearable kind of suffering for Tang Xiu, who was impatient. "There's someone I could think of for the help." With her floating white skirt, Gu Xiaoxue said with a thoughtful expression as she stood at Tang Xiu's side. "Who can you think of?" asked Tang Xiu.